Have you ever hit a creative block? The kind where you wonder if it's all gone? I've been there. As a designer, I call it a designer's block. It's scary, especially when your creativity is also your livelihood. Abundant interior designers, welcome to the weekday refill. These daily reminders help us pause, refill, and center on God so that we can serve from our overflow. There was a season where I was in such a rut. I couldn't create anything new that felt valuable or like it spoke to the creative genius that God put in me. And when you can't perform in the very area where God has provided for your provision to come from, that gets scary and terrifying. Writers call it writer's block. For me, I call it designer's block. And the thoughts were real. Is that it? Have I tapped out my creativity? Am I empty? It came during that season with the contractor that I mentioned yesterday, when I was cranking out project after project of the same space, same specs, same budget, over and over and over again. It was boring. I know all the boring gray spaces like people were seeing on TV. I was straight in a creative room. I was driving straight into a creative room. Aside from recentering on God, like I talked about yesterday, what also helped me was this book called Still Like an Artist. Amazing book by Austin Kleon. The title of the book really shocked me, right? Still. But he didn't mean steal in terms of copying someone else's work. No, he meant it in terms of collecting points of inspiration and doing other things that helped drive and fuel your creativity. Because the truth is, there's nothing new under the sun, and we can learn from everybody. I realized I wasn't feeding myself creatively. Outside of design, I was burning out of my design gift, right? I was like burning through that thing because I wasn't stoking the fire of the gift with anything else, with no other form of creativity. Design may be the major output that pays me, but it's not my only creative output. I love drawing. I love cooking. I love writing. I love baking. Sourdough is my new thing that I'm trying out. And when I let myself warm up in other areas, my design creativity comes back to life. One of the great things that I liked about this book, and I just want to say this book really helped dig me out of that creative rut and reignite my creativity in design. And what's cool is that Austin Kleon is actually a graphic artist. And he, like so many of us that output and do so much, he had himself come to a place where he felt creatively stuck. And so one of the things that he does a lot of drawing. If you follow him on Instagram, I recommend. He does like a lot of really cool things. But one of the things that he did, that he talked about in his book, is called Newspaper Blackout. And in Newspaper Blackout, you like get a newspaper article or a magazine, and you get a Sharpie and you begin like crossing things out, right? And it's so cool. So like this is one of the ones from his book. See, let me kind of let that focus. If it doesn't focus, it says creativity is subtraction. And what's really cool is that just above that, it's an article about the Olympics, and it's like Olympics. Sure, it could be biased, but at least it's explicable bias, right? But out of that, he got creativity is subtraction. And then another thing that was really cool that he did, like these are another few from the book. And then he even got creative with how he crossed it out. And it was so great. I really love this book. And so, let's see, I have to put on my readers to see these other ones. They're really small. But he has one that says that there are definite dangers in thinking you can do everything. Now, that's this one here. That was just one profound sentence that he found. And then it says, like he did this one where he just crossed out some letters and it says, do with less. Like, that's cool. Or he wrote this one and it says, start now, in this bottom right here. And it's just so cool. So anyways, I will find myself with my newspaper for during this season, right, when I was trying to get my creativity block, my design block unclogged. I would get up in the morning. I was getting the newspaper, like legit. I was getting, and this wasn't too long ago. This was in like 2018. Maybe 2017 to like 2019, I did this often. And I was getting the newspaper delivered to my house, like one of the few people that was subscribing to San Antonio Express News. So anyway, so I was getting a newspaper. And I sat down with my Sharpie every morning and I would cross out my words. And I was writing little things that inspired me. And I would really sit there with my cup of coffee and I would get to just creatively writing. And it was, I wasn't really reading the newspaper. I'm not super big on reading the news and all of that stuff or watching the news. I was just interested in searching through the words within the print and digging out something. And somehow that digging out what was hidden allowed for me to be able to then go and dig out what was hidden from my clients. So I found myself being able, from digging out things out of the newspaper, right, to get these little quips and poems, short poems and things like that. I was able to then be able to dig out things from my clients. It was really great. And so here's the truth. If you're in a rut, it may not be that your gift is gone. It may be that you haven't been feeding it. So interior designers, you need to know this. When you're only pouring out in one place, you can run dry. But when you refill through other creative practices, it overflows back into your design work. And here's the question for the day. What is one thing that you do outside of design that fuels your creativity? And if you haven't implemented one thing to fuel your creativity, then what one thing will you try? And here's my challenge. Take 10 to 15 minutes today to do a creative warm-up. Sketch, cook, write, walk, whatever speaks and gives you joy, do that. And then notice how it changes your work when you come back and you sit down. That's today's weekday refill. I'm so glad you joined me. We're here every Monday through Friday to pause, refill, and center ourselves on Him. Be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Design, serve, thrive.